Yo, what's good, party people? Steve Folk, the maestro, coming at you with a new Soul Life production, Sounds from the Pit. I'm your host, and taking this journey with me are some of Pittsburgh's finest. Say hello to the people.
Yo, what's up, good people of Pittsburgh and beyond, man? This is your man, Dennis Garner, aka Young D, aka Drummer Boy, aka Tempo Noir, CEO of Live City Entertainment. You already know what it is, man. Drums is my life, music is the gift, and I'm ready to share it with the world. Let's talk about it.
What's up, everybody? This is Chastity, aka Lioness Born, poet, MC, program creator. Straight out of Pittsburgh, the city is still, and I'm here with my brothers, and we're going to discuss whatever.
I guess I'll be the cornball with the crew because I'm not going to have nearly as smooth of an introduction. My name is Key Jamal Durham. I consider myself a friend to each of the people sitting around this table. And I've been a purveyor of the arts in a number of different ways as a performance artist, as a visual artist, primarily as a person who stands in front of a room full of people and talks about the types of individuals I'm surrounded with today. I consider myself a professional master of ceremonies, and when I put a Christian slant to it, I can call myself a minister of ceremonies. But I plan to bring as much of that to the table as I can. How y'all doing?
It's all good. We out here. We out here. That's an East Coast thing, isn't it? So let me give you the backdrop of why we've gathered today. Like for about 10 years, I've been studying the rich history and the culture of Pittsburgh and so many greats that lived here, even the frequent visitors, great musicians, actors, dancers, sports, culinary, on and on and on. But I travel a lot, I travel the world, and when you're in conversation, of course, what comes up, what's your name, where you're from? And when I say Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, first thing they identify with Pittsburgh, almost automatically, 10 out of 10 times, is the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I'm proud of. You cut me out, bleed black and gold, right? So my question is, based on me being a musician, an actor, a producer, my question, does Pittsburgh have an identifiable sound? And are we using this sound both literally and metaphorically? And if so, what is it? If not, then why not? And so as host of the show, we just wanted to give a kind of informal introduction of what we're going to be talking about. We're going to have guests from Pittsburgh, legendary guests from Pittsburgh, and we're going to talk about and wrestle with this idea. Does Pittsburgh have an identifiable sound? So when we talk about, before we went on, me and D was talking about DC. We recognize go-go. And he asked me about Philly, and I automatically said neo soul. Then we got even deeper with the California thing. And, do you mix LA with Oakland and all this kind of stuff? But then we have the little Pittsburgh, and there are some great, fantastic artists here. And some of the ones who have gone national, internationally acclaimed, they leave. And some people don't even know they're from Pittsburgh unless they're interviewed in this type of situation. So for this first segment, I just want to let's talk about that a little bit. Is there an identifiable sound of Pittsburgh? And if not, why not?
Right. And you probably argue either answer, affirmative or negative, right? So you probably argue them both successfully. But one of the things we talked about earlier was this idea that Pittsburgh's sound has been in part because of, at least initially or early on, the transient nature of the arts in Pittsburgh. Is that folks will come here, contribute, pick up what they can, learn, and go elsewhere. And even folks who are born here typically find out they will not get as much shine as they are worthy of until they leave here. And so, is that a reason why there might not be specifically a sound that is identifiable with Pittsburgh? Is because of that transient nature of artists in the arts. They'd either come or leave this place, come to or leave this place.
I find it interesting in this, right now I was thinking, Pittsburgh, we do have a dense history and legacy of skilled artists and musicians and writers and playwrights and those sort of things. But if we look at the sound, what I'm thinking is if we consider it a blue collar town, perhaps what we have had until we define whether or not we have a sound is that we have been dependable as a place where you can acquire a skill set, or where when you say Pittsburgh, people have come to Pittsburgh and they have kind of honed their talent. They've had the opportunity to sit in on certain kind of sessions with greats. We've had the opportunity to see Roger Humphreys and Phil Solomon do a jazz festival here in our city. Did it draw people from all over the world? No. Well, but we have world class musicians, composers here. And so maybe our sound is just the sound of excellence. Maybe that is our sound. And when you intermingle that with the world, maybe people, there's an expectation. People are like, I'm going to be excellent. People are not going to recognize the sound, but they'll recognize the flow. I've been here for a long time, and there are amazing, I mean, the superlative, Dwayne, Dennis, these are folks that I know, Aki. I mean, people are way ahead of their time and creating and having output, but it does go out into the world. And you may not be aware. You might have to look at the label and be like, oh, Pittsburgh did this. So maybe if we don't have a sound, we definitely have a skill set that you can acquire and get here and go out. A lot of people who are coming here and having the opportunity, world stage, Dennis, yourself, this gentleman, he was just acting on Broadway theater, the ministry, all of these different things, myself as well. I'm not leaving myself out, but that's what I'm thinking about the Pittsburgh sound.
I like the excellence. I'll stick a pin in that.
Yeah, definitely.
I can pick holes in that, especially with the production he just did. Why did y'all do it in Chicago and not here? But we'll get back to that.
We can get back to that.
And I want Dennis to have some time with that.
Go ahead, D. Go ahead, D.
Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna piggyback off of that. That was a great description. I think that when I think about the Pittsburgh sound, it's not a literal sound. I can go back to listening to when I was a young teenager, being introduced to jazz. Like, Roger Humphreys didn't sound like Art Blakey. Art Blakey didn't sound like Joe Harris. You know what I mean? Like the thing about these drummers that for me helped for me to understand what I felt was most important about my sound was not to sound like anyone else, to be inspired by those people who I felt had a certain texture and had a certain tone that were leading the charge, that were the trailblazers. And for me, it was very important to just, at a young age, be comfortable with how I naturally interpreted the voicing of my drumming while being inspired by those who were from Pittsburgh and leading the charge, so that my sound, literal sound, was something that could be identifiable. And then for me, what I also noticed was these people worked extremely hard. They hustled hard. They never had a time where they were, especially in the height of their jazz, journey. They were never, as they say, they were never not working. They were rehearsing, they were recording, they were planning, they were producing, they were composing, and I think that says a lot about the excellence factor. People just expect excellence. They expect resilience. Like if something doesn't work out, if it doesn't go as planned, you modify it, you change it, you make it better, and you keep going. And I think that's what Pittsburgh, creates and builds and fosters for the artist here, is the opportunity to create new opportunity, to those who really want it. This is not like, Pittsburgh is not like other cities where it's a mecca for music any longer, where you can just, be at a local jazz club or a local bar, and be playing, and then someone discover you like, hey, listen, I'm working on this film right now that's the budget of $3 million. You know what I mean? It's not that. Hey, you know what? I have some artists that I'm working with right now. We're about to do a European tour, and it's not that. But it is the place where you can be like, hey, you know what? I know that opportunity isn't knocking my door down, so I'm gonna go ahead and just create this door for myself. And I'm gonna kick it open, knock it down, and I'm gonna occupy all the space in the room that I can for as long as I can, and then move on.
I like it.
That's important. That's important. It's funny you say that, Dennis, because I remember in my youth, when I first became a person who had an opportunity to visit different cities, different college campuses, because of different things I was involved in, that sort of thing. And when I would go with groups of Pittsburghers, it was a different response to the group of people I was with. And what I came to understand was that we had to create atmosphere where we went, because we didn't have atmosphere here. So that we learned how to create atmosphere because no one just ever handed it to us. Like you don't have to create atmosphere in New York.
Right.
There's atmosphere everywhere.
Right.
Right. And at the end of the day, we had to make our own fun, so to speak. Right. And we would, so when anytime I was with a group of Pittsburghers during that young part of my life, we created a fun for everybody, and so we were always popular for that reason. And I think that same energy is what you're talking about. Is that like, no, I gotta make this happen, because there's no place for me to just sit down where it's already happening around me, and it makes a lot of sense.
So let's wrestle with that, and I agree and somewhat disagree with what's been put on the table. So, born and raised Pittsburgh, from the ghetto. It was called the ghetto back then. It's the hood now. St. Clair Village. So Pittsburgh, for me, I love the landscape of Pittsburgh. I think it's in my travels, there's not a more beautiful skyline than when you're coming from the airport, and especially at night. You hit them tubes and you come out and bang!
We're the only city with an entrance, as that's been
Dude.
said.
Yes.
Boom. It just hits
But
you.
here's what I wrestle with, and I think I'm qualified based on my longevity here.
We'll determine that.
Is right. Is the mentality of Pittsburghers, especially African Americans. Some have even coined us as crabs in the barrel.
Well, yeah.
So you were talking about the identifiable sound. So you get a person, and we consider her a part of the family, like a Sean Jones. Before Sean really hit Duquesne, Pittsburgh, we heard of this great trumpeter. He would sell out performers. We didn't know any of his music.
Right.
But let someone from Pittsburgh have a concert doing their original music, you might get 5 people there.
Yeah, TV time on that one though. But
Okay, I just want to wrestle with that.
No, well, let's be very clear. Only because Sean is one of my homies that I include to be a part of like the Pittsburgh Brotherhood. So no shade to him and no shade to everybody else. But there's a distinct difference in his execution of his art, and I think that this is one of the reasons. And I'm glad you brought him up. Sean Jones gets on a stage, no matter how small, the smallest cafe, the biggest theater.
Bruh, say that.
And when he performs, you are completely in amazement. His ability to emote through his gift is unparalleled. And to experience it, you would know.
I know.
Okay,
Certainly.
now,
Right.
so Sean Jones didn't come into the city just packing out arenas and packing out shows. Sean Jones, he did like, what Ohio do. Let's creep through the back door. We ain't coming through the White House. We gonna creep through the back door and check out what's going on in these local jazz bars. He literally did that. He would show up to local jam sessions. He would show up in local jam sessions and sit in and tear the house down. I was there when.
So does that question what she says? Then we have to question this excellence supposedly that you say in Pittsburgh. So if we're talking about excellence, what does that make him, an alien?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
No, but listen, it's not. There are people who outside of the gift that you have. There are just people who have disciplined themselves to the excellence of practice.
And what I hear a lot, and there's no shade. I know pretty much all the name musicians of Pittsburgh, and from a lot of people who come to hire Pittsburgh musicians and singers, you know, one word that comes out,
What's that?
they're lazy.
Really?
They don't want to practice. Have you heard that before?
Man, a bazillion
Okay.
things.
Really?
Okay. As a non-musician, I
Oh
wouldn't know.
man,
Oh, my
nobody.
I
God.
hear
Well,
that all the time.
hey man, I don't even want to
I've
It
segue
never
might be
there
for this
because we can be
generation
there
or
for
this time. Yeah, we
Sheesh.
can be there.
But no,
and we'll get into that. But go ahead.
Sean Jones is a study. You know what I mean? Like he didn't come in playing jazz and not know jazz. Like he came in very, very much studied.
Yes.
And so when it came time to hit the stage, it was very easy for him because his reservoir of jazz was so big, as well as his gospel influence because he's a church boy, like was so big, he could draw out from any one of those reservoirs and truly just kill the stage and kill the audience. And it made his draw and the appreciation for his art undeniable. What I see with a lot of, and not, I won't say, we'll just say a lot of my experiences here has been people who enjoy having the gift and only work to the capacity of what they've been gifted.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll co-sign this laziness, you know, banner that's been going around because it's true. Like most artists around here find it difficult to practice or to rehearse or to study
Yeah.
unless they're getting paid.
Yeah. And so just even in a recent conversation in Poking the Bear here, you know, you come into my show, I go to the show. I wasn't a show, that was a gig. It was local.
Gotcha.
You'll never make it in the underground in New York, you know.
Okay.
And then just to go just a little further about identifiable sound. Sean, I heard he studied under, who is it? Bradford or Winton, right? Trumpet players. But Sean created a sound. I can close my eyes with all the great Brecker brothers and all the great trumpeters. I can close my eyes and identify his sound.
Now,
Like
is that Sean Jones'
even with
sound?
your drum, even with your drumming. Like I can walk into a spot without seeing the bandstand and
if Dennis
hear
is on
him,
the drums,
I say,
you know
that
it's
sounds
Dennis.
like Dennis on the drums.
Okay.
So this is what I want to get to, because of all the great musicians, singers, actors I can go in and listen to as a keyboard player, because I've been around them. Sometimes I can like, well, it sounds like, you know, Joe Sample, or that was a Chick Corea lick.
Okay.
And I felt very inferior because I'm solid, but I'm nowhere. I can carry these guys briefcases and
Gotcha.
stuff. However, I'm playing somewhere, and someone said to me, before looking up on the stage, that's Dwayne Fulton playing.
Nice.
Because it was an identifiable sound. So what I've done, I was at Bern the other day, and the gentleman knew me from this opera that I composed, and he's going on and on. Hey, you are great. I was like, nah. Hey, you are great. I ain't saying comparing you to nobody else. You are great being Dwayne. And so with a lot of artists, because we borrow from everybody,
Of course,
especially, you know,
of course.
I'm a Prince
Influences.
head. I borrow sounds, but I try to incorporate it into myself. So with all the great musicians,
That's
I'm still having
excellence.
trouble identifying, because they sound like, but what is your, how do you take what you sound like and make it yours? Travis Malloy is our younger brother.
Yeah.
He just left. He has an idea. I can hear a lot of the soulful Marvin Gaye and some of the other influence, but he's starting to, for me, he has a sound. Now, is he saying this? Are we saying this? Is he claiming Pittsburgh for that? And he reps the Burgh everywhere you
no
see
doubt.
him. He has a pit, Stiller, a 412, da 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 da. That's what I want to.
He reps. He
Yes.
reps. Reps. And Travis has had the Travis sound since he was
Since
in high
since
school.
any of us knew his name.
Yeah, since he was in
I
high
was
school.
picking him up from grade school,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah,
Right.
he's been that.
Yeah.
He's been that.
Yeah.
You were
Now
gonna
he
say-
now is he the antithesis to this idea of lazy Pittsburgh musicians?
Mm.
Yes.
Right. Because
His hustle game crazy.
It's like to the nth degree, to the nth degree.
His hustle game
For example,
crazy.
like,
Shout
tell
out
me-
Travis Malloy.
Shout out.
Right.
You all know him in a more intimate way, so describe in ways that his hustle outshines other artists, or the way he's breaking up ground maybe that other artists, like maybe 3 things like he has done or did this. I mean, I know who he is, I know his music, it's been a while, but I haven't kept up with where he's going, what he's been up to. So
Well,
what makes
Travis
his hustle
Malloy-
game crazy?
His resume crazy right now.
Right,
Man. I mean,
right.
it ain't crazy. It's just, you know, right now, Travis Malloy has been supremely successful at not just launching, but scattering the seed of his fashion movement, millions, billions, and trillions, and now the millions, billions, and trillions university fashion logo. And I mean, it's a movement. It's not just I think it's Dream Currency that it's under.
I'm not sure what we're doing.
Okay, but sorry if I'm misquoting that, but I think it's Dream Currency that he's now under.
Google Travis Malloy.
Yeah, just
Google millions, billions,
Google
trillions.
that.
Google me.
Just Google. No, seriously, man. He's and then prior to it, I mean, literally that thing, his millions, billions, and trillions, like movement by way of T-shirts and now T-shirts and hoodies and sweatpants was just a mindset that he was able to make so simple, but yet it spoke to a lot of people at a time that it felt so encouraging and so inspirational because, you know, so many people are out here after, you know, not just the literal dollar, but just to feel like, you know what I have inside of me is worth millions,
no doubt.
billions.
And
of
to-
dollars.
and-
To that
taking
point,
it-
because timing is everything.
Timing.
But if you always hustling, you gonna hit the timing at some point.
Right.
Yeah.
Fact.
You
No,
know what I'm saying?
listen, right before this million, billions, and trillions, Travis Malloy was
He
a,
was a hustler,
very,
man.
very thriving music producer. Now, I'm saying like not that he isn't any longer, but
Right,
that's what
but-
there
That's
was no
what I
T-shirt. He
know
was
him
like,
from
yo,
his
man,
music.
R&B. I'm writing R&B. I'm producing R&B. I'm performing R&B. Like, and then right before that, I'm talking a sneeze before that, he was back on his gospel vibe. Like,
Right.
I'm a thriving gospel artist. I'm right, and I mean. He wasn't afraid to network, to put himself out there, to be vulnerable, to load videos, to show up places that, you know, no one would show up. I mean, and you can't deny the gift, but you also cannot deny the hustle. That's what it gets back to you know, that same thing I was saying about, you know, a guy like Sean Jones. Don't matter if you're from here, doesn't matter if you're from somewhere else. To me, you cannot substitute hustle.
No question.
So I want to ask this question to you all. Do you think that because we obviously have a lot of amazing creatives who are from Pittsburgh and then people who transition to Pittsburgh and add to their skill, their dream, their vision, whatever Pittsburgh facilitates, but perhaps the excellence, because I think I'm parked at maybe the Pittsburgh sound is a sound of excellence. Because when artists are here, there is a need to distinguish yourself, how you all were talking about different musicians and yourselves even. You have to get out. You have to promote. So then you have to, when you look at the caliber of artists who have come before us, if we talk about the Blakeys and the Roger Humphreys and even older folks who are still pioneering and taking it, like I mentioned Phil Solomon earlier, he's not just a musician, he also creates his instruments. So we have all of these in the backs of our minds. There are these excellent characters, but maybe if we shift, maybe we don't have an established Pittsburgh sound because we haven't really had any gatekeepers or folks who are
There you go.
That's a good
Folks who
because some of the gatekeepers
or in
leave.
competition sometimes. Too.
And the people that this is such fertile ground, Pittsburgh. So
It
when
is.
you talk to the movie producers that are picking up their trucks from LA, moving here because it's fertile. And again, I love Pittsburgh. I love the art scene and all that. So could it be? And I'm being devil's advocate to some degree. Could it be, as we wrap up, could it be that some of these transplants is like the competition is so much more stiffer in a New York, in the Philly club, in the LA club? The musicians here are cool, but I'm gonna bring my boys and we gonna wreck shop.
I think that happens a lot. I think that's why we can say,
Actors, everybody.
yeah, there's people who this is a place where I feel like it's easy to get on your game and distinguish yourself. But once you do, it's hard to have a foundation. You know, it's hard to say, well, you know what, I was, for example, say if we had that jazz club where people could pick up sessions and they could come in, and maybe one night you might, how people talk about comedy clubs, then they're going all night. Dennis might come in and be like, I just want to sit in on the drums. You might come in and say, I'm just going to play a few sessions. We cannot distinguish ourselves from others in that regard because we don't have like a Black Lily. The closest we had was like the Shadow Lounge, the Midnight Espresso. Now, in those instances, the best musicians, the Huggies, the Dennises, the Darus, there's so many people who would come on, play keys. There would also be larger artists and struggling artists who would be coming through. But even artists like Jaquia May, who's one of my favorite artists, vocalists in Pittsburgh, we saw Jaquia May developing her gift, right? Once she reached a certain level of excellence, there should have been some sort of infrastructure set up by those of us who already reached a certain peak, aside from her walking into a club and somebody recognizing and say, hey, that's Dwayne Fulton. We would like to get him up on stage. Could you, and ask the keyboard player, could you let him use your instrument? Would you hand over your bass? Could you let this gentleman be on the drums? We want to get her to come up and showcasing these artists and letting everyone else know this is a representative of what's excellent about the Pittsburgh sound right now. And then she can go to Africa and release albums and be as creative and prolific as she wants, and then surround herself and be in a band with other amazing artists.
Ashe. So I
Right.
gotta co-sign that. Yeah.
So,
Yes,
so
sir.
the gatekeepers. So, who do the young people? What is in place for us to have that foundation for the break up the ground people?
Nothing.
And this is some of the awareness we're hoping in this platform to bring some of these artists that we've talked about to discuss, to get their spin on everything. I mean, just even in the fashion, I don't even know who the 412 cat is.
In
But
fashion.
that as far as apparel.
You know who used to be really
The
fly?
412, when you go around Pittsburgh, the millennials know about 412. So I would love to bring him in on one of the segments and talk about, because again, using it metaphorically, that's a sound, that's an identifiable visual thing.
Yes.
You know, and so Pittsburgh, we go on, it's going to be hot. We just giving you just a tad bit of some of the discussions. We're going to wrestle. We're not always going to agree. We're going to challenge each other. We got some great artists and musicians, actors, sports people, culinary arts, the whole nine. Listen, Sounds from the Pit is where's that, baby?
Yeah.
And I'm going to give a key, since he had not too much to say, the last word as we wrap up, brother.
The last word. I think we need to dig into some of the things that were talked about here today more in more depth and detail, because one of the things I noticed us hit and touch on was this idea. We talked about excellence, and we also talked about a lack of support. I'm curious, because I don't want us to assume either of those things is entirely linear and exist without each other. I'm curious, how are those things cyclical, and is there some way that they feed each other? And I want us to talk about that next time. And I think we ought to talk more about this idea of excellence and that being the sound, but I think that the idea of excellence meaning the ability to embellish others,
Yeah.
as well as that excellence, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Our pastor some time ago preached on that. You know, not to bring religion into
All
this,
good.
but I can't help who I am.
No doubt.
We're a
But how
spiritual people.
we're the lack of support.
Yeah.
You know, so I am a composer at Trilogy Opera Company in New Jersey, and they want me to move. That's how much they like me. And someone says, "Well, why aren't you doing this in the Bird?"
You're
What's
like,
the scripture?
I am
A man is without honor
in his own home.
in his own home.
Yes, sir.
And we can wrestle with that idea as well, because the Lamont Ruckers, the Billy Porters, who I used to tour with, playing the Wiz music with.
Right.
So a lot of them,
and they leave and they blow up. And that this could be opportunity. I don't know, but
Right.
I'm wrestling. Why? Again, the excellence of Pittsburgh. Why is it possible that industry can be a part here? Do people need to leave to be on that national platform? Can we create something to that degree here? It's a possibility because people are coming. The transplants are coming.
Yes, they are.
And they are making that so. But the people born, raised in Pittsburgh, were still, and the gigs is cool. I got like recently, some guy asked me to do a gig, and I'm not, but I'm just saying where I'm at. Yeah, man, we want to do this gig. So you want me to do 3 sets of 10 songs, and you're gonna give me $75 at the end of the night? This is why musicians don't rehearse, because based on, again, pay is a thing, right?
Right.
Give me the list.
Right.
I'll see you at the gig. And then you get to the gig, ain't nobody rehearsed.
And that's exactly what I mean about, like, is this complacency and this lack of
that's-
support?
I'm telling
Wow.
you, that's it. Yeah.
What'd you say? I missed that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like,
Say it
listen, why should I bust my butt for $75?
Well, it depends on where you are in your
Depending on where you
gigging,
are.
Depending
right?
on where you at.
Because
So-
listen, there's
Dwayne ain't
people-
got to bust his butt
If
for
you go to New
No.
York, if you go to some places in New York, like the going rate for a session, like a 3-hour like jam session, is slightly lower than what it is in Pittsburgh.
Wow.
Believe it or not.
But the stage, the opportunity,
But the
you're getting
opportunity
supersedes
is
the
so
money.
greater.
It's another
And
currency.
to your statement, like it's not the pond of Pittsburgh, it's the lake or the ocean of New York. So like you if you don't do it, if you say no to $75, that's cool, because Akey, who's just as talented, he's only 18, just as talented, you know what I mean, or more, he'll do it for
Yes.
75.
And he should.
And he'll put on the show. You know what I'm
He should
saying?
at that
I'm
stage.
not as gifted, so I gotta practice those things.
Right.
Some of these guys, I'm telling you,
Some of them,
they can
savants.
listen to the set list on the way to the gig without touching the keys.
And bang it out when I
Right?
get there.
And bang it out right
Bang
there.
it out.
That's not me. I gotta spend hours.
I respect
to
the
do
fact that you're saying that, but a part of me is like, this is what creates the spirit of excellence. Never feeling like you just always have it.
That's true.
That is what creates it. And so I don't doubt you, but I do, because I'm like, you're not that gifted, really? I don't know. But I think your attitude about, I have to practice, I have to study. And when you keep that, I think that is the sandpaper that creates that excellence. I imagine he's always drumming on something, because he's such an excellent drummer. I don't imagine he can pick 2 things up in his hands at the same time and not go into his other state of being, his other natural state of being.
Oh, absolutely.
And in your defense, Dwayne, and I think that we all have this in common, multiplicity of gifts.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, and you and I have had this conversation, like, I wish I was just the expletive at one thing.
Right.
Right? Because then I know I could just kill. Then you could be, if I could just be the guy to give me the set list, I'll listen to it on the way and bang it out, but I can't do much else.
Right.
Right.
Right?
That's a good
right.
You know what I mean?
That's a
Because
good
at the end of the day, man, there's probably a thing that if we sat down and said, let's talk about all of Dwayne Fulton's gifts, there is a thing that he has where it's hand me the set list and I show up and play. You have that somewhere,
Right.
but it's so mixed up in so many other gifts.
And here's the thing that separates the Sean Jones description that Dennis said and the Michael Jordans. He knows what that gift is, right?
Yeah.
But if I don't practice at it, I don't become that supreme artist that everyone is seeking after. And then I can't even create an identifiable sound.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because most of the gigs and stuff that we're doing that I listen to, and I'm sure there's so many, even these young musicians that are coming up, they're so gifted. But, you know, we're playing other people's stuff. Dennis, you know, I don't know if he wanted me to tell you, we had a rehearsal, and he said, I want you to listen to something. And I'm in the car, and he's banging out original joint. I said, man, push that. And the attitude, going back to Travis, is I think we're speak for me, sometimes so driven by what our colleagues think. Maybe at 55, I've developed this. I don't give a. My mom might be listening, so I don't want to say that. What
Hush
you
your
think
mouth.
about me?
Right.
I'm gonna put it out there. Who likes it, likes it. Who doesn't, doesn't. Because you're always gonna have haters and stuff, and we know that critics or people who do. People who can't become critics. You're always gonna have that. And if we can identify and create that kind of thing within the culture of our little pond,
Yeah.
as Dennis describes it, then I think there can be an identifiable sound.
do
Again, growing up in high school, and we'll get to this, we'll have a DJ segment. Whammo was a national identifiable sound. Nighttime
Was.
dog.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Across the
Absolutely.
country.
Yes.
At least East Coast, they knew Whammo. What's Whammo now?
It's the bag now. It's not. It's not a music experience anymore. It's just an enterprise. You know,
That's a good point.
I feel like when I was younger, listening to people like Sam Greenlee on Sundays and the Nighttime Dog, going up to Slide Jock, and I feel like those people were invested in teaching me about music. I'm not a DJ, but I have an education about recorded music because elders would come around and they had those big cases of like tapes, and it had, you know, all the music from Chick Corea to Bob James to We're in This Love Together, like
Sing, girl,
all
sing.
of the. But I got my music education from Whammo. It was Slide Jock at night saying, "This is Patti LaBelle, this song, but also introducing new music. There were songs that I remember hearing late at night, and I had my tape on pause and
Get a
record.
We did.
Yes,
That
yes,
joint on pause.
yeah.
I used to mix
Release.
dog, yeah, to make the long version. Yes, sir.
But those things are a part of our foundation. But have we lost those things? Have they flown away?
So I would say, and this is just from a bird's eye view, I haven't really delved into that because when you're talking about that, the Holiday House, I mean, the Temptations, my mom, my dad, them put that was like our cotton club.
Right.
Nice.
You know, and then always somewhere we lost it, but there is, I'm sensing a renaissance taking place again. And a lot of people who are, and it's not a wrong thing, are benefiting from it, or people outside of Pittsburgh who are coming in and setting up shop, which is a great thing because we need it.
Yeah, the inspiration.
But my challenge to us as people from Pittsburgh is to make sure that the excellence, taking the practice and what it requires to get to the places that you spoke of the Seans and the Travises and the hustle, that we create. I believe that there is a possibility in this small pond. I don't know if we're East Coast. We just discussed it. It's the Midwestern
Yo, we East Coast, bro. We
region
East
that
Coast.
we're in. Because if it were just a small little, you know, there's a little theater down there, the Hines Hall, Benedum, the cabaret August Wilson. Shout out to Janice Burley, who is creating spaces not only for musicians to shine, but also paying them their worth.
Wow,
So
that's
a lot
awesome.
of that stuff is being in action. Now, the onus is on us that when we hit that stage, that we aliens.
And that's
Period.
what we gotta talk
Period.
about. Like that's what we can come back and. That's
back
me.
around.
Sorry, I'm in it. I'm in great. You know, I'm in it. You know, I'm fossilized in it. And I talk to this about. I talk about this to, you know, my colleagues who I work with, who I've been blessed to even subcontract for, you know, the shows and the gigs and events that I've come across my table. The singers is, listen, for us to do our part to change this, like we got to do our part.
Right.
And we talk about how, like right now, and not to get too deep into it, but I mean, I think a lot of things everything that everyone is saying is resonating with me is this concept of industry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you talk about the venues industry, when you talk about, you know, the events industry, when you talk about movie industry, you talk about radio, the old school Whammo industry, that's radio industry, right? Like there was industry here.
Yes, there was.
You know what I mean? Like an industry brought an industry standard.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? Without the industry standard, now you give way to just whatever wants to become this like pseudo industry and the pseudo standard. You know, I go to like, man, back in the day, and I'm talking like not 60s and 70s, and I'm talking when I first started crossing over into, you know, the jazz scene here in like 97, 98. And I mean, you couldn't get on stage with sweatpants and Chuck Taylors
And the hoodie.
and a hood. Like you couldn't.
Right.
I don't care if it was a jam session. You
Jazz
better
has
have
a
some
look.
slacks on. You know, a button-up shirt. Like you better look like a performer.
right.
Even if y'all had all different colors, at least your attire was pressed. Man, nowadays, oh, y'all
Anything
know what it
goes,
is.
bro.
It's you know, it's almost anything go. I gotta intentionally give out instructions to my
You
band,
gotta
you
give a
know,
dress code
mates,
to the band or
and
else
to the
they don't
vocals.
know.
Like, listen, this is the gig, time, date, location. This is
Dress
the
code.
payout. The attire is. You know, I gotta give entire instructions because if I don't, you'll see that this gig is at a restaurant, you know, a nice establishment or a nice lounge. And because you're entertainment, and I'm not saying you're intentionally trying to just be like, I'm gonna do my own thing, but there are musicians and singers that I worked with, and they're like, yeah, I'm just, you know, maybe that's just who they've been, and because people have
this is
given
my
them,
truth, yo.
yeah, this,
Oh
this,
my
you
God.
know, people have given them the pass, yeah, no, people have given them the pass,
Yeah.
like, you know, what, you've been given the pass so long that this is just how you operate. You don't even know that this is not industry standard. Maybe you don't care, but this is what it is now. And then,
good, D.
then you have the industry of the promoters, the restaurant owners, the lounge owners, who continue to be like, okay, well, here's your $100 for each man, or your 75 as you said it, right? Here's your $100 for each man who showed up, everyone in looking any old kind of way, you know, not looking the part, not looking like entertainment, not looking like you're ready to actually put on a show, and y'all didn't even rehearse.
They can tell.
And the promoter and the host, nah, sometimes they can tell, sometimes they don't. But whoever's the band leader, they know.
They know.
But you know what? The band leader's cool too, because he ain't have to rehearse.
Wow.
Yeah.
We got
So
$100.
expectations.
So
We got $100 for not rehearsing. Now, when you on call,
create
right?
Hey,
I'm gonna say this right. I'm gonna say this right here, and I hope this makes the cut. Every person who's a band leader, y'all know what the industry standard is around here. Y'all know what the gig standard is around here. Y'all know what those numbers are. I don't care what the circumstances is. Start making your musicians and your singers rehearse for the standard. Just make them rehearse for the standard.
Well, that is key. That is a master key, because I think when we don't manage expectations, or we don't have a sort of a rites of passage, so to speak, like we talked about earlier, the 18-year-old should come and do that gig of 10 songs for 3 sets. They should, because this is their rites of passage. And so, but I think there's a element of intergenerational dependence, I think, in order to have that standard and to manage the expectation. Because if you have Dennis and they're coming to do a gig with Dennis, and Dennis is setting the expectation, and then they're doing a gig with you, but because they've done a gig with him, they're like, okay, well, when I'm dealing with the elder statesman, this is the expectation. So this is going to create within them a standard. And then as the younger people are, say if we still had a Dow on Ninth, or if we still had a Crawford, or if we still had, what was the spot we used to be at in Homewood? Ramsey's.
Too.
If we had a Shadow Lounge or an Ava, and so folks are moving around these venues, and there's an expectation, and people can constantly check you, almost like it is when you're growing up as a church musician. It's like, excuse me, young brother, no, we don't do this here. This is how we operate.
So we haven't spoke about that, and we're gonna wrap it up for real this time. And we're gonna go around and make sure that you shout your name out one more time. But we haven't talked about gospel music.
What's that?
Gospel. We have some great gospel artists in the
What's
Burg.
that? Gospel
I've even
music.
heard that, you know, Pittsburgh is not what they call a church, like a church belt. Like North Carolina is a church belt, Texas. Pittsburgh is not. However, we have some,
And
probably
yet,
one of
we
the
still got
Curtis Lewis,
we have
Curtis
probably
Lewis
one of
Jr.,
the best
Blake
all-around
Lewis.
gospel teachers, composers, performers, whatever term you want to put, in the nation.
Yes.
in Pittsburgh, in Trinity Massey. And I already talked to him. He's gonna come on the show.
Okay.
We're gonna wrap it. We're gonna wrestle with all that. So as we close out, just go around one more time. Tell me who you are, and we're gonna close this segment.
Man, once again, Dennis, aka Little Drummer Boy, Young Drummer, CEO,
Yes.
Live City Entertainment, Director, Tempo Noir. Y'all know what it is. I play drums. Music is my life. Let's
He
go.
don't just play drums. He's just known best for playing drums.
man.
He play a little
He's
keys. He compose. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He,
Man, I can 1, 4, 5, and a couple black keys.
Chastity, Lioness Born. I'm founder of Big Juicy Records. I'm an artist, a poet, a composer. I create programming for inner city youth. And I am just an all-around creative. I do a lot of different things, you know, and I'm just here. I'm happy to be here with my brothers. You know?
No doubt, no doubt. Happy to have you here too, Chaz. Akeem Jamal Durham, Minister of Ceremonies. I'm along for the ride, and as much as these folks will allow me to embellish what it is they do, since we've already talked about that being a part of the Pittsburgh energy. Listen, I'm a counselor by trade. And so literally my heart for people is to always make them shine and be their best. And if I can just do that for these 3 people while I'm here, then I'm doing my job. So I appreciate that. Oh, real quick. So like if y'all tell Travis I'm gonna put out a bootleg, I'm gonna call it dozens, hundreds, and thousands.
That's where
Yes.
that's what we're gonna put out. We're gonna put the bootleg out, Travis. You say, come holler at me if you need to.
Again, this is D-Folk, the maestro, the older guy of the crew, the OG. Shout outs to crew, Reese and Eric. Sounds from the pit, baby. We holler at you.
All right.
One.
I mean,
Sounds from the pit, straight out the box, baby. That's it, the sounds from the pit, making that berg noise. Go get it, the sounds from the pit, straight out the box, baby. That's it, the sounds from the pit, no covers.